138 openings of wisdom. This is opening 32. And the English Gematria words for today are stable, change, coin. Stable, change, coin. Or you could say stable coin, change. Stable change, coin. Stable coin, change. Those three words equal 138 because stable equals 59, change equals 38, and coin equals 41. And if you add 59 and 38 and 41, you get 138. And this is 138 openings of wisdom. And this is the 32nd opening. The Radiance of Adam Kadmon. Part 1. The face is made to radiate that which is arranged within, inside the body. The emissions of this radiation emerge from each of the sense organs. Accordingly, 4 worlds emerge. The worlds of vision, hearing, smell, and speech. The forehead also emits its own radiance. Thus, all the worlds are nothing but the radiant splendor and shining glory of Adam Kadmon. While Adam Kadmon is more elevated than them and cannot be apprehended. Having discussed the subject of Adam Kadmon in general, we will now start to go into the details following the order of the likeness of man, the human form. We begin by discussing a phenomenon that we must first examine as it is manifested in the human form itself, in order to be able afterwards to understand the government of the worlds in accordance with the underlying secret of this phenomenon. The proposition consists of 2 parts. Part 1, the face is made to shine. This is a phenomenon that we must understand as manifested in the human form, namely the face. Part 2, thus all the worlds. This is the underlying secret corresponding to this phenomenon in the scheme of worlds. Part 1, the face is made to radiate. To explain this matter, the parts of the body and their functions here below always signify parallel aspects of the government above. Now, the face exists as one part of the body through which the soul, neshama, turns to and supervises what concerns the body in relation to that which is outside of it. Through the faculties of vision, hearing, smell, and speech. The soul remains in its sanctuary and through these organs experiences all these sensations. There are 2 things that we must consider here. The fact of the existence of the apertures, nekabim, found in the face, and the use that the soul itself makes of them. The truth is that the very apertures themselves are made by the soul. When the body of the embryo is being formed, the spirit, ruach, that builds it breaks through there so as to form the aperture, whereas in the other limbs and body parts, the spirit remains inside. Afterwards, sensory experience comes about through these apertures. However, this breaking through by the soul is not dependent on the senses themselves. For there are cases where a person has a given organ but not the associated sense. Furthermore, a person does not constantly hear, smell, or speak, even though these apertures are open. Up to this point, we have been considering the apertures through which the soul supervises that which relates to the outside. Another phenomenon is that of the face itself, meaning the facial expression, which also shows the state of the inner spirit in its place, be it settled or agitated. It must be that the face was intentionally made to do this, for the other limbs of the body do not do so. There is also something else that is not visible today, but which ought to be able to be seen. The face should have a shine or radiant splendor, ziv, like that of the sun. This was seen in the case of Moses, our teacher, and the very skin of whose face radiated, Exodus 34:29. Similarly, the sages said of Pinchas that when the Holy Spirit rested upon him, his face flashed like lightning, Vayikra 1:1. The reason why this radiant splendor is not seen today is that man's face is incomplete after the sin of Adam. However, initially Adam had this radiant splendor, as stated in the Zohar, Bereshit 142b, Bereshit 142b, Zohar Bereshit 142b, and Midrashim. In the future too, all will shine with this splendor, as it is written, and they that are wise shall radiate splendor, like the splendor of the firmament. Daniel 12:3. From all of the above, we see that the face is made to turn to others, and the face is prepared for this. We can discern three different aspects. The first is the face itself, ready in all its parts to shine forth and radiate the inner light of the soul and show it to the outside through expression of the face and its radiant splendor. Secondly, there are apertures made by the breaking through of the spirit during the process of building the body. Thirdly, there are the sensory experiences of the soul through these apertures. Let us now consider how all this applies above. The face consists of the vessels in the residue through which the light of Ein Sof, the soul within, turns to others so as to govern the parts of being themselves, which constitute the orders of government of the worlds. For you have already heard earlier that just as it is the soul that governs the body, so it is the inner essence, Pnimiyut, that governs the parts of Fim. See opening 29. These vessels are the face, with all that is instituted in it, through the mystery of the 13 rectifications of the beard, which comprise the entire face. In Adam Kadmon, the 13 rectifications are not present as such, but their roots are there. These all shine and give rise to the radiant splendor of the face. Nevertheless, the radiance is occluded, for it has to pass through the face itself. Even so, everything that is arranged in the entire body stands to be seen in the face, for things are so ordered that everything connected with the soul is visible in the face, as discussed in the Zohar in connection with the secrets of physiognomy. Zohar, Yitro, and Tikkun Zohar. Thus the soul causes the face to shine with radiant splendor, and this is the mystery of the 370 and 150 lights of the face. Yitro Rabbah, Zohar, Naso 120b. 370 and the 150 lights of the face. 150 equals Daf Yomi. 150 lights of the face. Indicating the government of Arik Anpin and Zeir Anpin respectively, afterwards having been included There, in a general way, the soul flashes and breaks through to make four apertures: the eyes, the ears, the nose, and the mouth. Understand what these fissures or breakthroughs signify above. It is not that they broke through one time and went out. Here below as well, if the radiant splendor were visible, we would see how the aspect of the soul that is already included in the face, to show the state of the soul, emits a continuous shine of radiant splendor that breaks through and goes out literally through these apertures. However, now that the radiant splendor has been concealed, its only visible action is to break through to produce these apertures. And because it comes from the soul, which is now concealed, just as the radiant splendor is not visible on the face, so too what emerges through these fissures and apertures is also not visible. Quite the contrary, on the face there is at any rate the visible facial expression, for the soul has a certain garb, namely the face itself, but coming through the apertures we see nothing at all, because the soul goes out with no garb at all. Note the great difference between the radiant splendor visible on the face and what passes out through the apertures. What is visible on the face gives a comprehensive expression of all the different aspects of the soul, but emerging through the apertures are individual aspects depending in each case on the place from which they come forth. These aspects prepare what is necessary for providence through the mystery of vision, hearing, smell, and speech. After the fissures with the lights that are in them become the senses, these are the actual government, inasmuch as the soul uses these emerging lights in order to supervise properly. However, the root of providence is itself traced in accordance with the function of each of the different senses to the very interior of Adam Kadmon, with which we are not talking about. What we are talking about now is what breaks through and goes out in order to produce the apertures and also the senses. This forms a second radiant splendor that covers the radiant splendor of the actual face itself. Accordingly, the Kabbalistic masters stated that this second glow is drawn forth against the face, but is not directly attached to the face. For only the first radiant splendor, that of the face itself, is directly attached to it. All this would be visible if the radiant splendor were visible. Thus, we find that the inner soul is hidden within the body and is not seen at all. Afterwards, it is seen through the expression of the face, and the radiant splendor starts. This is the first or inner radiant splendor. While the soul is still there, it gains force and breaks through and is actually seen through these four fissures. It is from there that the second radiant splendor that emerges comes forth and stands over the first inner radiant splendor of the face, which is thus like a glow within a glow. It is from this second radiant splendor that the senses exist through the power of the movement of the soul within that splendor. But the fact that the radiant splendor exists on the outside at all is because the soul broke through to make the holes. Clearly, if the soul produced four faculties, all different from each other, no less and no more, this must have come about through the power contained within it, which was able to bring forth this, no less and no more. If so, the action that the soul performs through one fissure is different from the action it performs through a different fissure. Accordingly, hearing is rooted in one fissure, vision in another, smell in another, and speech in yet another. The truth is that according to the powers contained in the inner soul, so it was that through one power the soul was drawn to one of the organs suited and ready for that power to function, and the soul broke through it and went out. Through a different inherent power, the soul was drawn to a different organ and broke through it and went out. Thus, the Otzrut Chaim states, but the wise will understand that the light of the brain is called Ab, while the light of the ear is called Sag. The gate of Tanta, end of chapter 2. In sum, the soul is made to shine in the face and also to break through and go out completely with no barrier before it in order to operate the senses. Moreover, it is actually through standing and shining in the face that the soul breaks through to form these fissures for the senses. Thus, the face consists of vessels ready for two things. The face itself is made to emit its radiation, even while this is still within the vessels before breaking through. On the other hand, the fissures or apertures of the senses are there to give the soul place to exercise its control and to supervise. Even as the soul stands in its place, it is seen through the fissures that it made initially, and it then produces the second glow. This consists of what was visible in a general way in the first radiant splendor, but which is now seen in its particulars through these fissures. What is seen of the soul through each one depends on the nature of the particular fissure through which the soul is seen. All this is besides the actual senses themselves. For even though they are produced in these very fissures, the truth is that they are made within this general radiant splendor, each one through the power of a different movement made by the soul according to the law governing the quality of its different senses. As to what is visible of the soul on the face, we have already said that this expresses the overall state of the soul, and it is from this aspect that the fissures we have discussed emerge. Accordingly, we may make inferences from the radiant splendor that emerges and becomes visible through these fissures, the second glow, as to what exists in the face itself in the mystery of the first inner radiant splendor that I mentioned. And from this radiant splendor of the face, we may make inferences as to what is contained within the body, the soul itself, its state, and purpose. I think we'll stop here for now.